Hello and welcome to another episode of Fintech Focus TV with me, Toby Bab. And today I'm delighted to be joined by a very dear friend, Mr. Colin Slight of the Realisation Group. Colin, how are you?
I'm all right. Hi, Toby.
Listen, great to have you on the show again. You are been doing some great stuff all the way through this period, or through the whole duration of the Realisation Group, adding real value to brands across the fintech space. But for those of you who've been under a rock and not heard of TRG and the great work you've done, tell us a little bit more about the company.
Well, we're a marketing consultancy, and we specialise completely in financial markets. So that's our niche. But otherwise, we're a marketing agency. We offer the full range of marketing services to help our clients raise their profile, be visible, get results, generate leads. That's what we're all about. That's
what it said in the Ron Seal of financial marketing. That you guys have had a stellar track record and helped a number of companies across the industry. And I'm always really interested about what we can learn from this. Look, I think one of the key things that we've been hearing from leaders that we've been talking through the show, and all of our consultants talking to the marketplace, has been companies have found it really difficult to replace some of that core sales activity and keep the brand and the marketing alive. And with this sort of change to inbound selling and social selling and everything like that that's been going on, I think there's so much people can learn and do better and sort of almost replace some of those sort of aspects. You guys, I think, have been at the forefront of that and done some amazing stuff recently. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts about how people should be positioning themselves and their brand over this sort of period.
What we've been all about is helping firms get out there, raising their profile, distributing their messages digitally anyway, but we've always mixed that up with an objective of getting face-to-face with prospects. But not just prospects, influencers, advocates, building communities of people who will be supportive of that firm's brand and their products or their services. And in reality, nothing's changed other than the fact that that face-to-face element is just not possible right now. Mm. But we still do all the same things, which is, creating the stories, getting the content out there, using all the different digital and social tools we've got in front of us. But what we've got to do now is just try and, as far as is possible, replace that face-to-face meeting element with digital meetings. And what we're trying to do here is just, we hear a lot about people doing webinars. Everyone's saying webinars, but there are a variety of different ways of facilitating digital meetings that are not necessarily just webinars. Webinars are one way of doing that, but you can have digital meetings that manifest themselves in a number of different ways. Fireside chats, round tables, digital meetups, more targeted specialist events with fewer people, but maybe a little bit more exclusivity around them. So it's not always just a webinar with inviting as many people as possible to hear what we've got to say, but just trying to, as far as is possible, recreate the emotional experience of a face-to-face meeting in more specialised, controlled circumstances. And there are ways of doing that. We're developing packages to do that right now, and we're putting them out there. So recreating the same kind of feeling you will get from a breakfast briefing or a lunch or a round table or that kind of thing. It can be done. Perhaps not the same emotional experience of meeting somebody face-to-face in the same room, but as far as possible getting there.
I think that's the sort of next best thing sort of scenario, isn't it? That you can't have those sort of those important times, which you can't suddenly realise just how important they are, of meeting people in the bar after a trade show or having those sort of face-to-face networking events. And it's a big part of the industry and has been for a number of years. And I think the sort of innovation that you guys are showing and able to add to people is fantastic. Go into those products a little bit more. How can you help and what does a digital meetup look like?
Well, the campaigns that we run haven't changed. They're all about creating great content and pushing it out there in a variety of different ways to attract attention to the client's products or services. And it's all based around thought leadership, insights, knowledge, and then using all of the tools we've got, such as PR, media communications, using all of the social channels that are available to us, plus the traditional publications that have always been out there. And we always try to position that to get face-to-face with clients in the form of roundtables, meetups, and so on and so forth. All we're doing really is exactly the same process to reach out to the right people, but inviting them to come to some kind of a digital experience. So if you try to recreate a meetup, then do a meetup, don't do a webinar.
Yeah.
Which is decide on the topic you're going to talk about, create a narrative for it, understand the objectives of the messages you try to deliver, and then rehearse it and get it right, and do it 2 or 3 times, and then put it out there. Don't just rock up in front of a screen and start talking about stuff and expect a result.
Yeah, quality I think is one of those key parts, and actually then working out and managing your expectations around this. And this is something we've spoken about a lot over the years, where I know one of the frustrations you've had is where people talk about sort of, I guess what's the right way of putting it, sort of a magic solution to marketing, where marketing is going to suddenly present you with everyone who you need perfectly boxed and gift wrapped. But this is about the sort of leads and the conversations that you start and create, right? And having those names and having that interaction and then following up and making sure there's programs of follow-up. Tell us a little bit about how, because I think there'll be a lot of that. People sort of lurch from out and out sales through to marketing, expect marketing to do exactly the same job, but it's a facilitator in my mind. Tell us your thoughts on this, because we've spoken about this and I think it's really interesting.
I don't recognise the situation where marketing stops and sales starts. But you see it time and time again, where you think you've got a marketing organisation who generates some leads and then hand them off to sales, and then sales take those leads and then they either convert them into business or they don't. For me, I've never recognised the distinction between when marketing stops and sales starts, particularly in the world that we operate in, which is high complex B2B environments where sales, the whole sales process can persist over a year, 2 years even. So when does marketing stop and when does sales start? There is no distinction. When you're working with a client through that, getting a proposal out there, conducting a negotiation, running a proof of concept or a pilot project, and then all the work that you're doing with the legal ramifications, signing contracts, getting on preferred suppliers lists, all that kind of stuff, and over long sales cycles where the personnel you're dealing with might change. So the team that you're selling to in the first instance might be a different team you're selling to by the time you actually conclude the deal.
Yeah.
And everyone talks about the buyer, the budget holder, the decision maker. In the world that we operate in, this is a multiplicity of personas. The buyers and the budget holders are not necessarily, that authority is not necessarily residing in one person. It could be a team of people, and it could be geographically widespread as well. We're working with multinational organizations.
Yeah.
So all the way through that process, you've got to keep marketing, you've got to stay visible, you've got to be out there, you've got to be seen to be active in the market, you've still got to be pushing the content out there, you've still got to be showing the thought leadership. You keep that going all the way through, from generating the lead through to closing the business. It doesn't stop. You don't just say, there you go, sales, there's a lead, take it away, we've done our job now. Yeah.
And I think that can be a real benefit of those two worlds, sort of colliding and meshing a lot more. We see it ourselves, and we're seeing it with customers and clients, that actually this is, as you say, look, there shouldn't be that sort of divide, and traditionally there has been. I think there's been a sort of entitlement almost that's built in a lot of salespeople that things should be passed directly through to them. But it's to me the best salespeople, the best ones who work as close as they can with marketing to understand this whole process. And it is about continuity of messaging, continuity of story, continuity of activity that ultimately dividends this trust and that whole know, like, trust funnel, right?
Yeah, we call it persistent market communication, which is always keeping your story alive, always being out there, always having something to say, so that you're alive, you're active, you're visible. And we talk about helping clients to be found, to be visible, and then helping them to convert that into success in the form of closed business. So you've always got to be out there. You've got to keep that continuity of being out there. It's not something that just stops and starts. And the other thing is that we talk about building communities of interest. So don't just focus on your prospects. You've also got to be building relationships with, what we call advocates and influencers. So noteworthy people in the market who are going to testify to the effectiveness of what you do.
Yeah.
You've got to be building relationships with those people as well, either face-to-face or digitally if you can't meet them face-to-face. So your advocates are people who have had experience of working with you potentially and are going to say good things about you because they've enjoyed the relationship, the customer-supplier relationship they've had. The influencers are the analysts and the journalists and the high-profile consultants who understand your market and are going to testify to how good you are at what you do. And it's that whole community of people who will be interested in what you do and how you do it. If you can bring that together, you've got a really winning formula. But it doesn't happen overnight. But if you can build that reputation, build that community of interest over time, your engagement will be sweeter, your sales cycles will be shorter, the decision-making process will be easier, the stakeholders within your target clients will have more trust and confidence in placing their business with you.
Yeah, not achieved overnight. I think is so fundamental to this. It is a process, and if I look at, we were talking about this actually in the office earlier on about who have been the real sort of winners through this, and we looked at some of the brands both inside our industry, recruitment, and also the FS space, and see what some of the characteristics of those people who've got it right and those people who've got it wrong, even on the political spectrum. You look at the messaging of Jacinda Ardern, you look at Andrew Cuomo over in New York, you look at companies who I look at like Market, like LSE, like Steel. These are businesses who I think are absolutely getting their messages right through adding real value. These are people there who are being poised. They've got the right tone of voice, the right tonality in their messaging, and they're consistent in everything that they're talking about, which builds that trust through this really important time. Those are businesses that I think are doing things right, but there's also a lot that are getting it wrong at the moment. So let's have a bit of examples that you think would be inappropriate. What does bad look like at the moment, as much as what we've heard good looks like with digital access? What does bad marketing look like at the moment?
Bad marketing tends to focus the client need on negative outcomes. So in other words, you must buy our product or service because it will help you to comply with the regulation and keep you out of jail. Yeah, right. Okay. You have got to do this because if you don't, then something bad will happen to you. There will be a negative outcome. No, it's if we work together and as a consequence of you consuming our product or service, then there will be a massive beneficial outcome at the end of it, which will be positive. Then that's your right kind of message, not you've got to do this, otherwise there will be trouble. Yeah,
the old gun to the head marketing.
The old gun to the head marketing. Nah, it doesn't work. People just go, yeah, all right, fine, I've heard that. Yeah. I don't do this. I'm going to go out of business. I'm going to go to jail. I'm going to get fined. All my staff will leave. You're threatening me. You have got to buy my product or service because if you don't conform to the kind of behaviour we're promoting, right, then there will be a negative outcome for you. If you don't do this, then something bad will happen. You say it all the time. They've got to do it. They've got to buy this because if they don't, there'll be trouble. Nah. It's like, if you buy this, not only will you resolve a particular critical circumstance you're facing into, but there'll also be all kinds of other benefits as well, which will accrue over time. That's a positive message.
Yeah.
Be positive.
Yeah, I think being positive is probably a feature of some of the good messaging that I've seen. That there's there's been brands out there whose social messaging I've seen have been sort of very focused on the negative, and there's been brands there who've got the tone of voice absolutely right. Look, I think no one wants to hear people sort of moonwalking or see people moonwalking through their successes at the moment, but by the same rationale, people want to be encouraged and have some positive messaging. And I think there's a number of brands there who've really shown that sort of servant leadership, for want of a better expression, about where they've sort of done everything they can to help their industry to add real value, to promote things within it. And I think that's been really encouraging to see in a lot of companies, as I say, getting that completely right. And as we see hopefully a V-shape bounce. We should see some people there who I think are the real beneficiaries of how they've conducted themselves over the course of the last 10, 11, 12 weeks or so. I'm really interested in sort of explaining that we've worked together now for what, 4 or 5 years with the Fintech Influencers, which is for those of you who haven't been involved in that, it's a group of leaders within the financial technology space who get together a number of times throughout the year through special interest groups and sort of larger meetups and panel discussions to sort of help drive innovation within the financial technology markets. We've sort of driven a little bit of that alongside the TRG group to digital forums as well, and tried to keep that sort of stuff moving. Tell us a little bit about what you think on or the next plans that we've got for that as well, because I think that's a good thing to mention as well, Colin.
Well, I think the next phase of what we're going to be doing is talking about the community firms that we work with, their view of the future. What's the world going to look like in the next phase once we come out of this? Because we will come out of it. Yeah. And there will be a re-engagement with the market. The market might look slightly different, but smart people will engage with the market in the form that emerges. The world of business, the world of commerce, capitalism, it's agile. You roll with it. Circumstances change. You have recessions. You have setbacks. You have unforeseen circumstances that hold you up. And you adapt and you move in a different direction and you change and you do it fast. I can't even begin to tell you how much admiration I have for the high street retail sector through this. I mean, I've been reading a lot about how these firms, the Sainsbury's, Tesco's, Waitrose, all those guys. First of all, we had empty shelves. Right? And then we had panic buying. Right? And within 2 weeks, they'd adapted, they'd changed their logistics, they'd changed their buying patterns, they'd reorganized their distribution methods, they'd changed the shift patterns of their staff, they'd moved, they'd gone fast. It only took a couple of weeks and they were back in business just the way they were before.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And you don't see empty shelves, and you're still seeing the same people turning up for work and they're delivering a fantastic service, and it's just great. And that's the commercial world because it just moved and adapted. I can't even begin to tell you how blown away I am sometimes at how quickly that particular sector reacts so fast.
Yeah. I don't even think it's even just that sector. I mean, look, you think of the FS space and just how ingrained some of the behaviours were of it, and how working from home was just a non-starter for many years. To get so many people out of Canary Wharf, out of banks, out of all these sort of places, and resume a BAU of sorts, I think has been utterly amazing. I mean, look, one of the positives you'll be able to look through all of this is it's happened at a time which couldn't have been better technologically for this sort of issue to happen. We've been able to carry on. People have been able to work from home, and I think that's a real benefit. If we're looking broader than just the marketing world, as seeing what we've done, the adoption of your supermarkets is absolutely a classic example, and retail sector has been.
I use that one because it's visible to the public. I completely agree with you, Toby. The way our sector's responded has been phenomenally positive in terms of the way people have changed their working patterns, their engagement models. As I said earlier, in a not particularly well structured or elegant way, but we are already redesigning some of our work packages to fit a new model. Yeah. In 2 months, we've changed our processes. We're thinking about new products to bring to market, and that's not just us. Everybody's doing it. Smart businesses are doing that. That's why I like, the private sector is just for me. That's why I like being in business, because I just watch people doing great things all the time, and you're always learning. You're watching other people, how quickly they adapt, and you don't see people running away in a corner and hiding and sucking their thumb and complaining. You roll your sleeves up, you roll with it, and you do different things. And when you come out of it, you're even better than you were before you went into it. And I'm not just talking about this situation. Any recession, any setback, any geopolitical event that happens that changes the way things work.
I think that's the real opportunity through all of this, isn't it? The ability to improve, the ability to come out leaner, fitter, stronger, and that sort of adaptability has been a sort of absolute feature. I think of it. So,
yeah,
survive then thrive has been sort of keyword or phrase that's come through all of this, and I think it makes for an exciting future. And I want to focus on that because and throw some light on you guys, because I think as a business I've seen it evolve a lot over the last few years, and I think there's some really exciting stuff on the horizon for TRG, isn't there? Tell us a little bit about what that looks like.
We're fortunate enough to have been approached by actually an ex-client of ours who worked with us for a number of years, and they like what we do, and
Friend of the show.
Yeah, so we've got some quite interesting growth and expansion plans, and so this individual's come forward as an investor in our business, and is helping to fund our next phase of growth, which is looking good. So we're expanding, we're recruiting, we're developing new services. We are really growing the digital side of our business now. And once again, there's some new products and services that we're bringing to market that we think are a little bit different. Got the new website being launched, if everything goes according to plan, middle of July. So there'll be some announcements about that. Some new people coming in, some new products, some new services, and a different market. Yeah. To attract, to enter when we come out of the end of this situation that we're in.
I think it's the natural evolution of your products, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. That you're seeing areas there which you've been traditionally really strong on in terms of the additional value that you're able to provide to teams and marketing teams, and the insight that you've been able to provide, and the quality of people you've been able to get around tables for round tables and events and such that you guys have been so good at. And I think this sort of development of your digital profile and how you can add value to businesses there is just going to be even more and more strong as well.
We will never step back from wanting to get our clients face to face with their prospects, their applicants, their influencers, because that's core to us. It's what we want to do, but it's not always possible to do that all the time. So you have to be better at doing that digitally. Yeah. And we've been working behind the scenes at getting so much better at doing that digitally, and now we're going to be able to offer a hugely complementary set of services which will enable our clients to engage in a face-to-face way, in a digital way, and in hybrids between both of them as well, just to more rapid impact and greater reach for the way we can help clients to grow.
Yeah, well, it's massively exciting, and congratulations to you and the team. It's a hugely experienced team. It's got you guys have got great pedigree and track records for everything you've been done and some of the work you've done. I know, not only from what I've seen, but from the feedback from the clients that I've spoken to, who you've worked with, has always been absolutely first class. So long may it continue. It's great speaking to you. I want people to be able to benefit from your experience and the positives that you can bring to their brand as well. For anyone watching who's like what you've heard and keen to find out a little bit more, what's the best way of getting in touch with you?
You can get in touch with us through our website by info@therealisationgroup.com, or call me.
Reach out. But it's always an entertaining call every single time we have one as well. So mate,
my phone number's on us.
I won't even go where you can find your telephone number, but that's a whole other story. Listen, great speaking to you. Thanks so much for sharing your insight and joining us on Fintech Focus TV. It's been wonderful chatting. Thanks to everyone who's watched. We'll see you all soon on another episode of Fintech Focus TV very soon. Thanks a lot.